Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows and Current Affairs. And today, in this episode, we're going to be following up over tourism in general, but this time it's domestic tourism. Of course, domestic tourism is becoming very popular. It's booming nowadays. Why? Because of the new republic or الجمهورية الجديدة. Of course, this particular happening that is taking place or change that is affected here in Egypt because of the infrastructural projects, because of the new capital, because of the National Museum for Civilization and all that. This is creating a new type of tourism, new restaurants, new places, new leisure places, and a complete new era, a complete new capital, a complete new nation that is erected in the past 7 years, that is creating a new culture. Of course, the history, Egypt's history is, I mean, it's something that we are going to be living on for the rest of our lives and will continue. We have lived on something it's at the we pay full respect for, but at the same time, there is a new trend of tourism here in Egypt that is affected and that is worth seeing. And that's why tourists have started to be aware of visiting those places and seeing it in Egypt. Of course, this includes many facets of life here in Egypt. Not only the historical ones like I've just said, but also other places that you could see the new Egypt. This is what we're going to be talking about today in this episode of Windows on Current Affairs. And we're very delighted to be having with us the tourism expert, Mr. Alaa Eish, and he's going to be talking to us about too many things that are attracting the European tourists, especially in winter season. Good evening, Mr. Alaa. Let us first talk about the return of the German, the French tourism, the Swiss tourism, the Russian even tourism that has been on hold for a little while. Of course, talking about these types of nationals coming over to Egypt expectedly heavily by this winter. If you like to elaborate.
Because I live between Egypt and Switzerland, and I speak, of course, German language. I know the German market very well. I know the Swiss market very well. Liechtenstein, Austria, and since 1993, I am dealing with that market, and I know that the people like very much to come over to Egypt to spend their beach holiday in Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh. They like to have their Nile cruise trip between Luxor and Aswan. They like Alexandria very well, and in the same time, if we look to the Russian market, because I have been in Moscow for a couple before a couple of years, and it was for me a good chance to come close to the to be able to study the Russian market, and I attended the Russian tourism exhibition in Moscow, and I had a long discussion with different kind of tourism, and I realized that they are very much interesting to come to Egypt, and most of them, they told me that it is their dream to come over to Egypt. That's why it is not a surprise for me that the Russian market now is booming, and a lot of charters are running now between different airports in Russia and the Egyptian beach resorts. And there are flights from different airports to Marsalam, to Hurghada, to Sharm el-Sheikh. Especially for me, it is very important that The hotels and the resorts in Sharm el-Sheikh are reopened again, and they really received a lot of tourism from Germany and from Russia. By the way, it is the first time that Swiss Airlines, and the Swiss Airlines belong to Lufthansa Group, and they run now a flight, a regular flight, not a charter flight, between Geneva and Sharm el-Sheikh. And it is, for me as an expert in this field, I know what is the meaning of running a regular flight, not a charter flight. It means that Lufthansa Group has studied the Egyptian market very well, and they planned for it, and they have been monitoring the Egyptian market since a long time. That's why they start running the regular flight every Saturday from Geneva to Sharm el-Sheikh. If you look to Geneva Airport is a very important airport in Switzerland, because it serves the Swiss market as well as the French market. Because if you live next to the border between Geneva and France till Lyon, it is about 60 kilometers away from Geneva, even if Lyon has its own airport, but the people prefer to fly from Geneva, and the surrounded villages and cities in the French territory, they fly from Geneva. And it gives us the hope, and that the Egyptian tourism sector will recover very quick, more than we really expect. And it's a good sign, of course.
Of course, there were several campaigns that were, or initiatives that were taken to promote tourism recently, to our knowledge. And they were very successful. Talk to us about them.
You know, it is, I must say, it is not because of the tourism authorities here in Egypt. It is the hard work of the hotels owners in Egypt, hard work of the travel agency owners in Egypt. They are working very hard to attract the people to come again to Egypt and to spend their holiday here in Egypt. They know it is even if we are in a very difficult situation right now, because you know, since 1 year or more than 1 year now, it is about 18 months ago, we suffered a lot, and we never gave up, because we have a very good experience in such a difficult situation as we had before, because of Iraq war and Afghanistan war before. That's why for us it is, we got our own lessons out of it. If I am talking about the Egyptian market, I mean inside the hotels owners in Egypt, and the travel or tour operators owners in Egypt, as well as a foreigner travel agents or foreign tour operators around the world. They promote. They are still believing in the Egyptian tourism market, and they are promoting it very hard, and they stand at our side to have it back to the normal.
What were the exact obstacles that you used to suffer from?
I'm sorry.
What were the exact obstacles that came in your way? You said you You had it over your shoulder.
There are always signs. You see, it is signs that if you receive a lot of phone calls, if you receive a lot of emails, if you receive a lot of requests, you see, the people are asking about the safety, about if it is okay, if I am coming to Egypt to spend my holiday, what's about the regulation now, is it okay now, about the weather, about the flight. You see, it is the main problem now, that's why you cannot receive a lot of tourists now in Egypt from different countries, is the main problem is the flight. It is you don't flights. You don't have enough flights. You know, it is from different countries. You see, because if you would like to for example, to spend your beach holiday in Hurghada or in Sharm el-Sheikh, you don't want to have indirect flight to spend or to waste half day in a transit airport and coming and for your way to Egypt and for your return from Egypt to spend again or to waste again a couple of hours in a transit airport. For example, if you fly from, let us say, if you fly from Paris and you don't have a direct flight to Sharm el-Sheikh, and you have to fly to Istanbul or to fly to Munich or to fly to Berlin and to take another direct flight from there to Istanbul to Sharm el-Sheikh, you will waste a lot of time. And it of course, it costs more.
But isn't that entertaining at the same time? Because I remember when we used to go to JFK in New York or to Boston or to California, we used to stop in Brussels, we used to stop in Germany, we used to stop in other places in Europe.
Yes, of course, if you are flying over these to go to New York or over Atlantic, as we call it, to go to New York or New Jersey or whatever, you know that it's a longer flight. As I have been in Tokyo a couple of years ago, I flight from here to
I know what you mean. So in other words, to say if you're going to Italy, you're not going to be transiting.
Yeah, you don't. You see, because you know it is for you. You will spend only 1 week, and of course it will cost you more, and you will waste nearly half a day for your way from, let us say, from London to Sharm el-Sheikh, and another half day going back to London, for example, and it's not good, and it is not comfortable for you. It costs you nowadays costs you more, because you know there is no a lot of competitors in the market, and you know that if there are a lot of competitors in the market, and then everybody will try to attract you by offering you a low price, you see, or low fare if we.
You mean in other countries? In other countries?
Yeah, it is. That's always the problem. You see, it is the problem. You know, we have to make a difference between beach resort, tourist, and the classic tour. If you will spend a classic tour, you know that it's an expensive tour, and you are ready to pay a little bit more. But if you wanted to spend your beach holiday, you don't want to spend a lot of money, and you try to say, okay, I need just a flight, and I will go to Hurghada, for example. I give only an example, and I will spend 1 week on the beach and come back to my country, or go back to my country, and it is and you are not ready to pay more, and you are not ready to waste time. You calculate it really carefully. Say, okay, it is. I will spend one hour to go to the airport and stay at the airport for 2 hours. I fly from London, for example, to Sharm el-Sheikh for 4 hours. It means 7 hours, not more, not less. But if you and because you wanted to just to go to lie on the beach and that's it. But if you are coming to have a tour here in Egypt, for example, a classic tour, because you will spend 2 nights in Cairo visiting the pyramids and the museum, and the next day maybe you will have a day trip to Alexandria and come back at evening, and from Alexandria you will go to the Cairo airport and take the next flight to fly to Luxor. You know, like that you are ready to move. Then that's why if I will offer you a transit flight from, for example, from London to Cairo, then you will accept it. If there is no direct flight, I mean, you will accept it. Like now, from Paris, for example, to Cairo, there is no direct flight. I think only Egypt Air is running now 1 flight or maybe less. I don't know. But I am not sure about. But you know, like that, then if you live in Paris and you are ready to have a transit flight from Paris, for example, to Munich, and from Munich flying to Cairo, you are ready to do that, because you are ready to have a tour which...
A touristic experience.
Yes, that's it.
Right. We're going to stop here. We're going to go to a short break, and we'll come to continue this very interesting talk about domestic tourism and promoting for 2021. Welcome back, and we're still on with domestic tourism, and of course we were talking about the facilities that are given by the Ministry of Tourism and the obstacles at the same time. Our dear guest, the tourism expert, Mr. Alaa Eish, and Mr. Alaa, you were talking about something that is very important. You were talking about the different stops, but there is also another obstacle, but this is temporary, which is the vaccination and the pandemics and all that. Of course, we are safe here compared to other European countries and even American countries and even Australia and Russia itself that have banned their tourism. Now Russia is not as safe as in Egypt. But still we have got to go through the same cycle also. But thanks to God, things are okay. What about these procedures of the vaccinations and is it optional? Is it obligatory? How it is working?
Here in Egypt now, in the hotels, they started to. It is obligatory now in the hotels for the hotels workers and hotel staff. They must get their. Must be vaccinated now, and there are really Minister of Health in Egypt here. They are working very hard for that, and they are really well organized. And we must say there is now.
What about the tourists, the incoming people? They have to be vaccinated also?
Before I will travel to your destination, you have to expect that I have to ask about the situation, if you have a lot of infected people or not. And here it is not a secret that most of the foreign embassies here in Egypt, they are monitoring the situation, and they sending a report, daily report to their own countries. And there is what we call it red list, and we have the white list. Sometimes they put Egypt on the red list, and sometimes they put it on the white list. If you are on the red list, it is a problem for you, because like that, nobody will come to you. Because, you know, I am not ready to spend 1 week holiday in your country, and when I return back to my own country, then I have to stay at least 1 week at home. It means that I will lose another week from my annual holiday. That's why it is not good for us if Egypt is on the red list. And that's why the authorities here in Egypt, they know that very well, and they start to vaccinate the hotel staff in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Hurghada, as well as in Luxor and Aswan, and on the Nile cruises, to give the impression or to feel safety. If you come to Egypt, then you feel safety. You will be not infected, because everybody of us is afraid to have such a problem. You see, to have corona here in Egypt, for example, and maybe they have a bad impression or a bad what you call it, idea about our hospitals, that okay, if I will be infected, what's about the hospitals? Because they heard sometimes wrong, totally wrong, that the hospitals here in Egypt is really bad. But
this is
I
totally,
must say, in Hurghada and
this
in
is
Sharm
totally
el-Sheikh,
false.
they have a very good, I'm sorry.
And even in Cairo, this is totally false information.
Yes.
And the whole world have seen in different media outlets, of course, the pandemic have shown up everything to the whole world, that hospitals in England and hospitals in other places were fully, and they were very, very jammed with infected people. I mean, it has been, terrible things have been happening worldwide. That didn't happen here in Egypt.
You know, it is, what I must say. I must say that it is media. You know, because
The counter media.
Yeah, it is. They gave a very bad, what do you call it, picture about Egypt.
Image.
Yes, and or bad image about Egypt, about the Egyptian hospitality. But they did not, for example, visit the pyramid, called the Pyramid Hospital in Sharm el-Sheikh. It is one of the best. They did not visit Hurghada Hospital. It is one of the best as well. Well occupied, and they care very much about the tourists there, and they give them good care in both hospital, in Luxor, for example, and in Aswan as well. And that's why it is. And if it is needed, and it happened before, they took some tourists to the military hospital in Maadi here in Cairo, and one of the best worldwide, and a lot of experts are coming to visit Maadi Hospital, and you know it very well that it's one of the most modern hospital around the world. That's why it is. We have to show them. How can I know that as a tourist? How can I know that you are well occupied? You have good hospitals, you have good staff, you have very good doctors and nurses here in Egypt, in Hurghada, in Sharm el-Sheikh, or in Luxor, on the Aswan hospitals. You have to show them that. You have to talk. You have to. Nile TV is playing a main. For me, playing a main and a major role to show the whole world such a hospital. You have to visit. You take your team and go to the hospitals in Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh and show the world that that's our hospital. In Sharm el-Sheikh, that's our hospital. In Hurghada, that's our hospital. In Luxor and Aswan, come, you feel safe. It is nowadays we must say that Egypt is getting a better and better image than before, because they know if people are coming to Egypt to visit Egypt now, and they are surprised about how modern it is now, about the routes, about the hospitals, about the service, everything, the airports getting better and better. The government in Egypt is really working hard, and we are seeing the results day by day.
A short break, and we'll come back to continue this very interesting talk about domestic tourism, and so stay with us. Welcome back, and with us still in the studio live here is Mr. Alaa Eish, and we were talking about domestic tourism and the problems. Of course, we were talking about the different initiatives and campaigns that were raised. Even bloggers could raise campaigns. It's not necessarily the Ministry of Tourism, but different initiatives, different ideas, innovative things and steps taken on you people in charge, or you owners of companies. Haven't you thought of taking it by the first hand and you do your own initiatives or promotion?
Yes, we do. We never stop. But we don't have the what do you call it? Enough money to spend, because nowadays I try to find another word, but I must say it is a problem. You see, because you have your own budget, and your own budget, it is always limited, and I don't have the resource to spend a lot of money for different channels. You see, because nowadays it is really expensive to have advertising in for example in Facebook or in YouTube or whatever. It is really per click, and it's very expensive. That's why we try to spend in a correct way, not just to lose or to spend a huge number of your or a huge amount of your budget. That's it. That's why we depend on the authorities here in Egypt. I mean, in the Ministry of Tourism. From their sides, you have to plan well, and to put hand in hand with us to talk together, to organize together, to plan together, because we know the market very well. We know the needs of our clients. We know the needs of our partners. And for example, a couple of days ago, I had a meeting or inspection tour with an American tour operator, and we were talking about next year. It really, for next year, I expect that the tourism, first of course, if the pandemic will remain the same like now or maybe less, if it is, because nowadays it is really stable. We have stable numbers around the world. It is not going a little bit up, a little bit down, but it's stable. Especially that people start now to be vaccinated. And the number is increasing from a day to another. By the way, before I forget, for example, I give you that around the world now they are pushing the citizen to be vaccinated. And from the next Monday, you are not allowed to enter any Swiss restaurant if you are not vaccinated. You have to show your certificate. You see, each of us has a certificate, and you have to show it before you enter a restaurant. It is a must now. They just pushing the people or the citizen to be vaccinated, and because some people, they maybe heard totally wrong from the media that it is not good and not healthy or not good for them, or maybe they will have side infection or whatever, and totally it's wrong. I am vaccinated, and that's why it is. And because of that, I expect, and even that my partner from USA, I mean business partner, we expect that from the beginning of next year, the tourism sector will be booming, and we will receive a lot of tour travelers next year, and that's why I ask the authorities of the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism to plan well to get a huge, really and good results next year.
You mean more facilitations,
Yes.
better ideas and things like that?
Yes, because you know, if you will not plan well, and if you will not start from today or from this year, you will not you will lose a big part of the market share.
Of course.
Yeah, that's it.
But then let us think about new things, new steps taken, like the new passage in Aswan, which is fascinating, and the lake next to the that was totally changed, that informal settlements, the lake by the National Museum of Civilization, new things. I mean, new cities, and very modern, very sophisticated, clean, and civilized. I mean, aren't we showing that? Isn't that enough to attract people? Because that's sometimes what other nationals are looking for, or tourists, or even Arabs. I mean, different nationalities.
Yeah, do you know, it is, that's why it is very important for us, and I rely on the Egyptian media, especially on Nile TV, to show the world the modern Egypt now. Show the world that we have a lot of attractions here in Egypt, because you know we have different kind of interest. We cannot just rely on the people who like monuments, or like pyramids, like temples. There are others. They are interesting on beach holiday. We have to care about them and to show to them and attract them. There are a lot of shopping tours. It is very important, and especially for the ladies. They just, you can attract them by coming over to Egypt and have a shopping tour here in Egypt. We have a lot of malls now. We around Egypt, and a lot of bazaars. For example, it is one of the major attraction in Aswan is what you call it, a spice market in Aswan. And a lot of people they come.
And the herbs also.
The herbs, I'm sorry. Yes, because sometimes because I think in German, that's why.
Right.
It is in herbs market in Aswan. It is wonderful with the different colors, and really it is one of the major attraction. And we always hear from the tourists, especially the ladies, when we will go to visit there, because I would like to buy, and we need enough time. I said, no, you will have enough time to enjoy the market, to go through it and taste it and smell.
They like that very much.
Yeah,
and it's
they like it very much.
It's very healthy. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but on a promise that you would honor us, we'd be delighted to have you once again on a very soon episode, inshallah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alaa Eish. Of course, you are a tourism expert, and all the best of luck.
Thank you.
I guess this is where we end this edition of Windows and Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you, and until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.